Philips Hue light bulb finds itself back in the IoT Hall of Shame. Google tells their users, oops, might have sent your videos to somebody that isn't you. PHP vulnerability turns out to be really, really dangerous. Law enforcement's warning about making sure that your IT people, or your not your IT people, but your cleaning people are vetted. And WhatsApp has another big security vulnerability. Surprise, surprise. All of this on This Week in Cybersecurity with the Code Curmudgeon. First up, Philips Smart Bulb. Philips Smart Bulb has been in the IoT Hall of Shame many times, and we've talked about it here as recently as just a couple of weeks ago. Last time, if I remember right, it was the bridge, not the bulb itself, but it continues to be a problem, basically. In case you're not aware, I'll put a link down below, but in case you're not aware, we often think of the light bulb as a not very big risk item, and so we don't worry too much about having IoT or smart bulbs. But in this case, what happened was people use a sequence of vulnerabilities to crawl across the system and do something really, nasty and dangerous. So first off, they get into the bulb using Wi-Fi, and they can be apparently about 100 meters away. Links to all this down below. And there's even a video I'll give a link to of showing it happening. But basically, they use an existing vulnerability. They get into your light bulb, and this has the effect of detaching your light bulb from your bridge. In other words, the controller that you bought to let your light bulbs, which speak this funny Zigbee protocol, talk to your Wi-Fi network. So now they've got their own little software running on the light bulb that they did it from their car sitting outside your house, for example. And inside your house, you've got your little app, and it says, hey, your light bulb's disconnected. So you go over to your bridge, press a button, you rediscover, you find the light bulb, you add it back in. Now, your bridge has decided that this infected light bulb is a totally safe, fair device to talk to. So light bulb has access to the bridge. Now the light bulb exploits Code Curmudgeon's favorite weakness, buffer overflow, heap-based buffer overflow in this case, and loads malware into the bridge. Now the bridge can further on load malware into other things. So everything in the network becomes vulnerable. Just a classic again. Combination of attacks, buffer overflow, and the fact that if everything on your net is open to everything else, then you can pretty much presume you don't have any security whatsoever. So, pretty interesting sequence of events. So let's talk about Google. Google basically this week put out a message that said, hey, sorry, I shared your videos with a bunch of other people. Sorry, not sorry, because they only sent the notice to people that they're sure were affected, and they didn't tell them which videos. So basically, you get an email that says, hey, we think we shared some of your videos to somebody. And that's it. You don't know which videos. Was it your whale watching video, or was it that video? But you don't know. And you might have accidentally gotten someone else's videos, and in this email, it basically tells you, hey, delete whatever download you got and re-download it. And the reason that's interesting is that this was part of the Google takeout or takeaway feature. It's a thing that lets you go to Google and say, hey, gather up everything you've collected on me and put it into a big dump and hand it to me. And boom, down it comes. So they screwed that up. Now, on one hand, okay, at least they finally figured it out and they've done something, in theory, about it. In theory, they've notified the people that were involved, even if it wasn't very specific. But bigger question for me is, what happened? How is it that they thought that my video was your video and gave it to you? Like, that's a bizarre thing to happen. How is it that they have data in their system that they don't really know who it belongs to? Did they get a messed up index? Did they have bad file permissions? Did they store something in the wrong location? Was this just one particular symptom of an underlying problem? And Google, of course, with a lackadaisical attitude, right? Like, oops, and that was it. So there's that. WhatsApp. WhatsApp is another thing. I think we talked about it, I don't know, last week, the week before, something like that. WhatsApp is supposedly secure messaging system, so you can make sure that you're sending messages to your friends, family, local partners in crime, whatever, and you're not being spied on. That's the whole idea. In practice, while that is a thing, WhatsApp has just been subject to a seemingly non-stop series of cybersecurity incidents, most of which are really their fault. So the last one, big one, was the Bezos thing, and WhatsApp is now saying that that's really Apple's fault, not their fault, I think, or something like that. But in this case, it's their web application, it's their desktop application. And what happens is that they're really susceptible to cross-site scripting, and there's some improperly configured controls in there so that your exposure to it is much bigger than it should be. So essentially, if you're using the desktop application, or the web application as it were, for WhatsApp, which is really convenient, obviously, because then you can cut and paste and use a regular keyboard to type and such. But if you're doing that, if someone sends you a specially crafted message, they can pretty much grab any file on your computer that you have access to. So, nasty. And again, WhatsApp just clearly hasn't done a thorough security review of what their exposure is, and they certainly haven't done what they need to do to harden proactively the application. They keep responding to these problems and fixing them, but I'm more concerned that I haven't seen any evidence that they've gone beyond sticking their finger in the hole, rather than, hey, let's assess what's going wrong and let's start doing a much better job. Let's stop trying to test security into our application, or in this case, maybe they're even letting their users test security into their application. So shame on you, WhatsApp. Once again, shame on you. Law enforcement, and I've seen this from several different law enforcement groups now. Somehow it's a message traveling through the interwebs. But they're warning that, when you're a big enterprise and you're hiring people to do stuff that isn't really related to your business per se, that this can be a big risk. And they have found indication that various, organized crime groups are making sure that they're getting people staffed in at janitorial services, at painters, at contractors, etc., so that they can infiltrate certain organizations. So, you get the person in the company, they work their regular job, they do what they do, and then, boom, suddenly they're at company XYZ, who you wanted to target, and you've got them inside the building. And typically it's much easier to attack from inside the building than from out. That's not always true, but in general, you want to make sure that your systems are secure, but also that you have, physical security, not just cybersecurity. So, super important. Can't really tell you much other than you need good, strong behavior here from a security perspective, right? You need to make sure that you vet who comes in the building. You make sure that when people that aren't really your people come into the building, that they don't have any more access than you expect them to have. So almost got run over. There we go. And I was even looking. That's why I didn't get run over. So vet your people. That's what I was saying. And not just vet them, right? That's not enough, because this is the problem with this that they were talking about, that you don't really know the vetting process of the janitorial service that you're using. So make sure that they're controlled. Server rooms are locked. Janitors don't belong in server rooms, right? Make sure that people have screensavers that turn on so there's no computers that aren't screen locked when they're wandering around. Stuff like that. And the other thing mentioned in some of these articles is, make sure that you're doing red team type, pen tests against your organization from time to time. I have a friend at one organization, they send out phishing emails to their employees specifically to make sure that they're learning about phishing. So, do a few things, make sure that you're protected. And finally, PHP. So, this isn't such a big deal, and there's a PHP vulnerability and there's a fix for it now. This was just one of those, the way I like to close out my videos here is a couple of years ago, 2018, somebody found a bug in PHP and they posted it, and everybody said, oh, that's not really a big deal, can't really be reached, blah, blah, blah. Which is exactly what happened when Heartbleed was first found. Everybody said, hey, who cares, it can't really be exploited. And once they found it could be exploited, they're like, yeah, but you can't get anything interesting. And then once they found out that, yeah, you can get interesting stuff, then everybody panicked, which was stupid. So, just another classic case, a bug that was reported 2 years ago and wasn't fixed because I can't figure out why it matters, became a problem. And this is the problem of that whole, I'm going to test security into my application, or developers say, hey, this finding is a false positive. You know what? Like, fix it. Just because you can't figure out how to use that exploit in a useful way doesn't mean that a bad actor can't. So, cautionary tale, right? You have to harden your application, you have to build security in, and you have to take a very mature approach to what you're doing. You can't look at weaknesses and say, this one's okay, I don't see why it matters. You have to address security in a very serious, systematic, thorough way, because one weak link is all it takes, and then people are in your system. So that about wraps it up. Hit the like if you liked it. Subscribe to get more videos. Hit the bell. You'll get reminded every week when I have another episode of This Week in Cybersecurity. I also do other videos during the week. Leave me comments down below if there's stuff you'd like to hear about, stuff you disagree with, stuff you agree with, and have a great day. Stay secure out there.